Welcome into the Armchair Illini podcast. I'm Austin Burklund, your host, and we are so excited you made us part of your day. Like, share, and subscribe on the YouTube channel and on all social media platforms. That's Armchair Illini, and then armchairillini.com. For all the best written work, go to Kirkland Chapel, go to Alex Chi, and Robbie Nardini have you covered for all things Illini at armchairillini.com. And then again, subscribe on YouTube, like, share, and subscribe, of course. Then, of course, we want to talk to you about the Hamilton Walkers. Illini fans, the Armchair Illini podcast is fired up to team with Hamilton Walkers Seafood and Spirits, hands down the best dining experience in Champaign, Urbana. We're talking prime steaks, fresh seafood, and a vibe that's perfect after a big Illini win. And here's the game changer. Every single home game, we're giving away a $100 Hamilton Walkers gift card on our social media. That's right. Dinner on us. Follow Armchair Illini and Hamilton Walkers on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter to get in on the action and experience Hamilton Walkers, where Champaign Urbana comes to celebrate. We have a big time guest today, Saeed Bravo of Illini Inquirer and Illini Inquirer and the Champaign Room. Pardon me. Saeed Bravo, welcome to the Armchair Illini Network, and thank you for making us a part of your evening.
Yeah, no problem. I appreciate you having me on, of course, and both for couple publications, so can get them confused sometimes. Don't worry about that.
Absolutely. There's a lot of Illini publications out there, and you're part of two great ones in the Champaign Room and Illini Inquirer. But let's start out with that football game. I know it wasn't the best result for Illini fans. 42-25, Washington wins. What was your big overview on that loss by the Illini?
Well, it's been kind of reinforcing a bit of what I've been onto for a couple weeks now. And this was kind of a separation for me because obviously in retrospect you can look at that Indiana loss and you can say, "Hey, this is I've been calling it a crapping of the bed that was the Indiana game." But not only that, also I look at that Ohio State game and I say maybe they competed a little bit. But granted, these are the two best teams in the country. So there was room for a little bit of argument for Illinois to make a bit of an argument to say, hey, committee, you should give us kind of a chance. But a no-show on defense at Washington just kind of cemented what was that Illinois is a good program. They're not great yet. They can be in the future. Doesn't mean they can't be in the future, but just this season, it feels like they haven't taken that next step that a lot of fans wanted. But overall, I think with the product on the field, you're displeased. You're not pleased with the defense, and obviously, offense had a little bit more to go. And but overall, it's kind of just cementing really what Illinois truly is in 2025.
Who's more to blame for that defensive woe that the Illini have had in big time games? Ohio State, Indiana, and Washington. Do you think it's more talent level based, or is it more scheme and possible communication issues coming from the defensive coordinator?
So really the biggest thing that I look at is I think that the pieces that you hoped would materialize into something that you wanted coming into 2025 have simply not taken that step. But I do think that that has to do with coaching, and that has to do with what's been going on that side of the ball. I think that they're not really necessarily maximizing what they could get out of guys like Kavakis. Kavakis is your best player, and it feels like he hasn't really shined all that much. It feels like that it's most likely schematics, and so really, like, listen, I think Aaron Henry's a great guy. He's really awesome with us in the media, but it gets to a point where you know it we need to get answers, and it feels like it's the same thing every week. Gonna get it figured out, and you hope that they can right the ship going into the latter half of these last four games of the season. But obviously, it's not encouraging when you see a lot of these guys going into the game, and it's just not, you don't really see a difference than what you saw with Ohio State, even with Purdue. I mean, there was a lot of times where Purdue just there were so many missed tackles then. So it's always a mix of both, but there's no question that coaching is definitely a factor here, and it's the job of the coaching staff and specifically Aaron Henry. It's on him to maximize his talent, and so far it really feels like there's a reason why Brett Bielema has talked about getting a little bit more involved, specifically after the Washington game on the defensive side of the ball.
What do you think the future holds for Aaron Henry and that defensive coordinator position after this season?
That's a tough question to kind of navigate. That's a tough situation to really prognosticate, because I think on one side you have a guy who Brett Bielema loves, who is enamored with him, who I think you look at and you really say this is probably one of your better, probably the one of the centerpieces of one of the people who recruits really really well, and it's a likable guy. And obviously, you ask any of these players, they're always going to say that they love their coaches, but Aaron Henry comes off to me as one of those really extremely likable guys. And let's play this game. Let me contrast him with the other side of the ball, which is Barry Lunny, obviously, and just the different personality that is both of them. If I were to take a blind test and say which guy do I think I would gravitate to the most, I think it's easily a guy like Aaron Henry, just because of how his personality shines and the guy that he is. But it is a results-driven business. I don't know. I can't say if he's gonna be in the same position beyond 2025. I don't think anything is going to change. I don't think anything in terms of the staff is going to change this season. If that's what fans are kind of thinking about, if that's where their minds are at, where, hey, in 2025, there needs to be an immediate change happening right now. I just don't see that happening, just based on how Brett Bielema's rhetoric and how loyal I feel like this program is to each other. So it's a really tough question to answer, but I do think that there is likely to be rumblings coming up, specifically if things don't get better over the course of the next 4 games, because there's no question about it, this upcoming schedule gets lighter. So if things just don't get better, then there could be changes ahead. And I think that it's likely that there are changes ahead.
Absolutely. It's very tough to win when you have 2 interceptions on the entire season, and then you go into a game against Washington and you don't have a single sack total in your stat line. That's very rough as a defensive coordinator. But let's flip to that offensive side of the ball. Luke Altmyer, 22 for 34 against Washington, 199 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. One of them probably couldn't be attributed to Luke Altmyer. It was more on the wide receiver. But what do you make of what Luke Altmyer's legacy is going to be in Champaign once it's all said and done?
Yeah, I think the thing that comes to mind to me is the whole story with Luke Altmyer. Obviously, I wasn't on the beat until last season, but just seeing from where this guy has gone in the big picture wise, where this guy has gone from 2023 to 2025, I think it's a remarkable story that you look at and you say, this is awesome. This is exactly the kind of thing that Illinois would want, and exactly the kind of guy that you want that you would like to represent your program. I think that regardless of what happens over the next however for many games, barring a complete 2023-like performance that Luke Altmyer would have over the next 4 games, I think his legacy is going to be just fine. This quarterback who was really, really good, who transferred in, who went through a bit of turbulence and ended up being a really solid quarterback. I know that there's been fans that are they're clamoring that this is a type of quarterback that because of the defense, you're not going to be able to see beyond a bowl game. I think that there's definitely room to say this is a really good quarterback that you had over the past 3 seasons. You feel really great about what he was and the legacy that he left. But with that being said, I do also think that, I mean, you just get a little bit of pressure on this guy. It feels like sometimes it happens where he makes the wrong read, or he throws just that crucial interception, and that's where you go, okay, well, there's a difference between a collegiate quarterback that can take you to really high level, like, extend plays and all that stuff. I know that people love to see that, but Luke Altmyer is a quarterback that is really good. He'll leave that legacy of being really good, but it's not a quarterback that can defy the odds of a roster that is somewhat that in 2025 has left a little bit to be desired, specifically on the defensive side of the ball. But I mean, you just see the connections that he has with his wide receivers. You saw that last season with Pat Bryant. You're seeing that this year with Hank Beatty, and you would probably have to mention Colin Dixon as well. So it's a quarterback that's gotten along with a lot of his receivers and has been able to work really well inside of this program and inside of Barry Lunny's system, because I also do think a lot of the credit does go to the offensive coordinator Barry Lunny, who, man, sometimes man, it feels like after games that leave a little bit left to be desired the previous week, and then he follows up that different performance with a really good performance offensively. It feels like Barry Lunny comes in on Monday a bit puffy chested, and he's like, "Hey, it's like I told you guys this. We just got to trust it, and we just got to believe in each other, and do whatever it is that they do over the course of the week." But I think in terms of Luke Altmyer's legacy, his legacy will be just fine. I don't necessarily think that this is also a quarterback, though, that it would is capable of defying the odds of a roster that has left some to be desired.
Who would be your player that over exceeded your expectations, and then which is a player that kind of has disappointed you this football season so far?
My immediate answer, and over the course of the past couple weeks, it might be a little bit difficult to make this argument, but I mean, Khalil Valentine, the running back Khalil Valentine has been, I think, one of the most just. I thought that he would have a significant step forward coming into this season, but I didn't think he would perform that well against conference teams. Specifically, I know he had a fumble against USC. I know that early on, he was able to take advantage of the competition they were playing, and that Duke game was really incredible for him as well. But Khalil Valentine, man, this is a guy who I think, over if he stays with Illinois over the next 2 years, can be a premier back, and he never once blinks about. He's a very, very quiet, reserved guy, but and obviously I feels like a lot of the coaches generally gush about all of their players, but there's something different about Khalil Valentine and the running back that he is. So shifty and really accelerates really quickly and has just a pretty insane burst. He is so good, and I think that over the next 4 games, to keep an eye on him specifically, because I could go on about just how I if there's a running back that you wanted to offer you a different flavor in that running back room, 100% is Khalil Valentine, just because of the different type of back that he is. And that's been one of the guys that I look at and I'm like super, super impressed with, that I think will continue to make strides. We'll see if he remains, but just because of the era that is the NIL era and the transfer portal and the current world that we live in, we'll see if he remains with Illinois. This is not me reporting anything, but just saying, just as a fact, like, you just never know. But I've been really encouraged about what he's been in 2025.
I mean, he has 71 carries, 356 yards, and look at Caden Fagan, who has 90 carries and 370 yards. I mean, that is impressive efficiency for a guy that has not as many carries as your lead back, and it's tough to get in that vibe of being that lead back whenever you're getting the second round of carries.
Yeah, there's no question about it, and I think it's also just been the timeliness of when it is that Khalil Valentine decides to like break through the seams, and it's been really encouraging to see. And he's broken out for a couple like couple 20, 25 yard carries, and it's been really impressive to see. He also a couple weeks ago dropped a bomb out of nowhere. The fact that his uncle is actually Joe Mixon, NFL running back, which I'm sure he doesn't want to get those two things misconstrued. The idea that, oh, I have a uncle who was a former NFL running back, and I myself am a collegiate running back in the Big Ten. But it's just a fun fact there for you.
And then on the opposite side of things, who is a player that you needed to see more from that hasn't produced up to this point so far?
Yeah, man. I think really one of the guys that I think it might be it's really hard to pinpoint whether or not this is really because of, like we mentioned earlier, scheme, or is it what it really could be, why it is he might look like he's strong. I go back to just the production of the secondary and how much they've struggled, and at the center of it really I think is Captain Miles Scott, who I think he's a solid player. He's been a solid player, obviously a captain on this team, but there's been times where you scratch your head a little bit in terms of where is, I mean, we ask him, and it's like the communication needs to be better, is what they tell us, and so it's tough, and it might be, obviously you lose a guy in Xavier Scott, and you have to replace his production, and obviously a couple of the younger guys who come up aren't producing at the level that you would want them to. That's something Brett Bielema has talked about, the idea that you have these guys, a couple of these younger guys stepping up in positions, in very important positions, and they need to go through some turbulence before they can get to that point where they feel really comfortable playing. But I just think I've been slightly disappointed with the performance of Miles Scott, and it's something that's interesting because, I mean, coming in, we thought this was one of those key captains that was going to really carry this defense, that was going to be a key part of this defense, still is clearly a key part of this defense, but clearly has struggled somewhat over the course of the past couple games, specifically like Purdue game I think about, and obviously last week. It might just be a little bit of recency bias, but that's what I have on that end.
We'll get back to Saeed Bravo, but the Armchair Illini podcast has pumped a team up with Campus Inc.'s official Illinois NIL store. Get officially licensed gear from your favorite Illini stars, Luke Altmyer, Terrence Shannon Jr., Kofi Coburn, and many active and former Illini. Support your favorite athletes and rep the orange and blue. Use code Armchair Illini for 15% off today. That's Armchair Illini for 15% off today. We're back with Saeed Bravo of Illini Inquirer and the Champaign Room, and let's switch things up to the hardwood. Saeed, you're looking at this season. You have a tough non-conference slate with the likes of Tennessee, Texas Tech, UConn. The list goes on in this fight. But how well do you think the Illini are going to be able to handle this non-conference slate with the lack of chemistry that they may have?
Yeah, specifically on that end, obviously there's been a lot of noise about that secret scrimmage over in Florida, which is very just interesting to see the discourse online. But it's interesting because over the course of however many years, over the course of just the past couple seasons, the idea that you have a team that looks vastly different than what it's been in previous years is pretty commonplace nowadays. We saw it last year with a team that had to quickly mesh and come into the season and really test out whether or not they would be able to compete at that at the right level, I guess. It's going to be interesting. I really think that uh, there's a lot of trust, and rightfully so, in the coaching staff. Obviously, Brad Underwood and his staff do a really pretty good job over the course of however many years that they've been here. But I think what the message that they've been giving throughout the past couple seasons has always been, hey, we want to challenge ourselves through non-conference and priming ourselves for conference play. While I do think that there will be turbulence, I think there will be significant challenges for this team early on. I do think that just with the age of a lot of these guys, specifically the guys coming from overseas, you feel encouraged about these guys kind of meshing well and going into the regular season, or excuse me, conference play. But it'll just be fun to see really where this team kind of ends up once they play really interesting competition to start the season.
Who are your three guys that you are most excited about to see in this particular year of Illini basketball?
So it's really interesting because the noise around Keaton Wagler is so interesting because it's almost ridiculous how much they gush about this guy. So I'd be remiss to say if I didn't like mention him on the list specifically. If you give me three guys, I mean that's clearly going to be one of them because of how much noise that there's been around this guy about saying that he looks like a college ready player, and it's always a difficult transition to go from high school to college. But right off the bat, I think he's probably one of the guys that I look at, and I'm excited to see that new face on the court. It's going to be interesting to see how much exactly, and I suspect he will get probably a significant amount of playing time, specifically early on in the season as you approach the higher level competition. But definitely him is he's on one of my on the short list, definitely. And I think another one of those guys is Andrej Stojakovic, just because this is a guy that offers a little bit of a little bit of a good, like, he has the experience is where I'm going with this. And this is a guard who has played overseas as well, who has been pretty much everywhere in the world. He says he's gotten used to living alone and been on different sides of the planet. But I think I'm really excited to see what he can do, specifically just replacing the talent that left, of course, last year. And another guy is the just and I think a lot of this is simply because of the guy I met a couple weeks ago. But the guy who was just classified as a sophomore, Mihailo Petrovic. It's so funny, man. Like the when we chatted with him, there was always the idea that, hey, they warned us, hey, we're gonna have to go a little slowly with him because there might be some language barrier with him. But this guy just comes off to me as a regular dude, and I'm so excited to watch specifically him play because they talk about how different it is to play overseas and how that there needs to be an adjustment from playing overseas and coming into the United States, specifically collegiate basketball. So it's been a little mix of everything, but I'm really looking forward to seeing him play as well.
Now, how concerned are you about the defense on this particular team? You have a lot of scorers, you got a lot of playmakers, you got a lot of methodical passers, a lot of guys that can do a lot of great things, but the athleticism is one thing that I'm a little concerned about. How about you? What are your thoughts on the defense for this particular Illini basketball team?
Yeah, I mean, I think anytime you have a significant amount of like a significant influx of talent that is put into your roster, I think it does raise some concerns. It rightfully does, but specifically with this team, I do think that they're the guy who's the guys that are already here specifically, they're gonna have to take the charge on that end of things. I think it's so difficult in the start of the season to be able to kind of prognosticate really how well the defense plays. Specifically because you don't play the best competition in the first couple games of the season, but I do think that while it could definitely be it could definitely be a roadblock for this team. I I think that we've seen enough from the coaching staff over the course of the past couple seasons to feel decent about how this team can play defensively on that end of the floor. And I'm just really like what we've seen over the course of last season. We're gonna see a prolific offense, I think, and it's just gonna be a matter of. I think really what you need in NCAA is a good offense and a decent defense. So I think it'll be okay. And I'm not really too concerned with the defense because I do think that a prolific offense is better to have. I'd rather have a much more prolific offense than I do a prolific defense, if you ask me. And I think that's where the coaching staff's mind is as well. So that's kind of where my head's at in terms of that.
What do you want to see out of Tomislav Ivisic?
It I so with him, just the leadership on the court is always something that you look for, and I think clearly he's already that, just because of simply just how long he's obviously only his second year in the program, but you can really feel that at least vocally, and you get the vibe. And listen, we've only talked to them, the collective at local media day, local basketball media day, only really once, but I expect that leadership to be there specifically, and that's the intangible. But I want to see him continue to grow as a defender. I think obviously the guys who are, like I said before, the guys who have remained on this team need to materialize into better defenders because of obviously having new guys from overseas. And so I think for him, it's going to be a lot more as a vocal leader in that locker room. That's going to be one of the factors going into this 2025 season. So that'd be what I look for him most. But obviously, you want to see continued growth on this team, and also stay healthy. That's always a big thing as well because I mean obviously last season there were a couple times where he wasn't, and sometimes you can't control that, but you hope that this is a guy who can continue to stay healthy to contribute on this team.
Now, you covered a couple other programs of the Illini for Illini Inquirer. Which programs were they?
Yeah, so volleyball and soccer. And soccer is, I'd say, more extensively because of I was a former soccer player as a little kid. I don't get it misconstrued. I wasn't I didn't even make my varsity high school team, but I do have a lot of experience playing soccer. And then they are they're making the run on the to a hopefully, well, they're gonna play their first game of the Big Ten tournament. What hopefully is the first game of the Big Ten tournament over in West Lafayette this week on Thursday. And yeah, something down the pipeline, have a feature on a player coming up on Illini Inquirer. So just a little bit of a tease there.
What have been the big storylines for that soccer program and that volleyball program?
Yeah, no question. I think with soccer, and I'll start with that specifically. It's really just the biggest thing is Katie Holteen and his impact on this program. Obviously, came in to replace longtime head coach Janet Rayfield and has done an incredible job. I mean, broke the record for best start in a season to start the season at 7-0-1. That was 7 wins, 0 losses, and 1 tie. And I mean, you've just seen significant growth from this team on that end, just because of how intense they play. They also had a couple of transfers in from the SEC, and they've added really a lot. And a big thing with that as well, with this particular iteration of this team, is that, and obviously, as a caveat, in Big Ten soccer, you don't really have what is a big transfer portal. You don't really see that. It's not all too common, but it does happen, obviously. This particular iteration of the team, when Janet Rayfield left, they, as a collective, wanted to see this thing through. And another thing was that Josh Whitman had a one-on-one with Sarah Foley, one of the captains on that team, and was, I don't want to, I use this word lightly, but I'm gonna use this word kind of like a plead with Sarah Foley, and told her, hey, trust me, you trust me, trust us. We're gonna bring in someone great. And it looks like Josh Whitman delivered on that promise, bringing in Katie Holteen, who had come off of being a coach with Grand Valley State Division II, something I don't think she saw coming, but ended up having a lot of success there. And over the course of the past month, you've seen a culmination of a lot of players who decided to come back, who thought the foundation was set to be a good team in 2025. You saw an influx of talent from the transfer portal to deliver results, and you also saw a coach take the reins and run with it, who's been really intense over the course of this season and who's been really, really sharp. And that's what really impresses me and what really stands out about that soccer team. As far as volleyball, the biggest thing is just barring these last couple games, obviously they just came off two losses at Huff Hall. It's so interesting, man, because they've actually they've played most of their games throughout this season, specifically the conference game, on the road. And they've won most of those games. And they just lost two in a row at Huff Hall. So that part of it is a little perplexing to me. But with that being said, it is a lot of it is the idea that these girls, and this is coming from the girls, not mostly the girls, not Chris Thomas, the head coach, but it really, for them, it feels like they came in over the course of the offseason. They really gelled really, really well. And sometimes sometimes any team just doesn't have that. And it feels like the right people came together and kind of mixed together in a big bowl, and they were able to come out as a pretty decent team in the Big Ten. And now they're hoping to get some more conference wins, specifically at home. But I've been really impressed by how well they've played on the road and just exactly how they've done it, because it's so curious the fact that they've been able to do that. And also, one of the big headliners as well with that team is Alyssa Aguayo, who's a freshman on that team, has been really impressive. And one of the things they say about her is that she is able to handle pressure really, really well. And it almost feels like, talking to her, that she has that like cockiness. And I use that word in a positive sense, because you could argue there's a lot of players out, probably a lot of high schoolers out there who are like, can I swear on this thing, or is that not allowed?
Absolutely, you can swear.
All right, like, it's like, yeah, I'm the shit, like I'm really good. But like Alyssa Aguayo gives me that kind of vibe, but is also, it's so weird because she's also soft spoken, and it feels to me that, like, you ask her about has there been any turbulence throughout this past couple weeks? You ask her, do you have any of those moments, like a Big Ten, welcome to the Big Ten moment? She's like, like she downplays it, and it's like, well, all right, like, this is a player who is confident, and maybe that's something that this Illinois program needed to propel them after, obviously, losing Arena Terry, who was really, really good over the course of the past 5 years, half a decade of her, and to come back in a season where they've been doing pretty well, and to do that with a bunch of new faces, I think is really impressive. So those are two programs that have been playing really, really well.
Saeed, I want to thank you for your time and joining the Armchair Illini podcast. Where can people find your work, and where can people find you on socials?
Yeah, I follow me on Twitter /X at Said SAID underscore Bravo BRAV as in Violet O1, and there you'll find out a bunch of links to a bunch of my work. But yeah, that's kind of me, man.
Saeed, I want to thank you for your time tonight. And this has been another episode of the Armchair Illini podcast. Again, like, share, and subscribe on YouTube. Follow us at Armchair Illini on all social media platforms. And then armchairillini.com for some written work as well by Alex, Kirkland, and Robbie. This has been the Armchair Illini podcast. Thank you once again for making us a part of your day. ILL, INI.